Hi, this is Brian with the Balance Dog, and today I want to talk about slip leashes and some of the more common ones I see trainers using or clients come in with. So I have a couple different models here, and what I've done is I cut the hand loops on them so we can actually see the material and stuff that they're using and how they're constructed. So this is probably a nylon blend. It's kind of soft, but the problem is you know, I refer to them as ski rope leashes. But you can see right here where I've actually have been able to pull up some of this, and as this wears over time, because this is basically a core with no outer protection, and because the rope quality is pretty poor, but over time this, you know, through compression, the diameter starts to get smaller and smaller, and then you start getting more of these snags, and you have all these loops everywhere on the leash. The other part is there's two termination points. There's a termination on the hand loop and a termination on the head loop. So this company takes a big bulky piece of nylon, and then you can see they do a bunch of stitching here, and then you can, I guess, put your company logo on there if you wanted to. And you can see here on the head loop, it's the same, a big kind of bulky piece of nylon here, and it just adds kind of bulk and weight. And then there's the other part is the keeper, and this one is basically a big plastic keeper with a spring in it. And the problem is that I can see right away is a dog chewing this and breaking it, or stepping on it and breaking it. And when that happens, then you basically have no way of keeping the head loop where you want it. So this leash just becomes obsolete, in my opinion. And the spring in there is not really that tight either, so I can move this fairly easily. So that's one design. Here's another one. It's very similar, just a different material, a different blend, but it's built pretty much the same way, and there's no outer sheath to protect it. And it's a much softer leash, but again, this one is going to snag and catch these loops, which again, I can just kind of pull right out, and then you get all these snags, and then they also start to peel where the material starts to roll up like little balls and stuff. And it's terminated with a piece of leather, and I've seen this stitching. This one's already kind of doing it, where this stitching starts to come undone over time, and then once this opens up, then this loop is no longer going to stay where it needs to stay. And then they do the same down here with another piece of leather. Right? And then their keeper is a leather with a rivet in it, which is good, but the problem is it's not the keeper, it's the rope. Because this rope is, over time, like that other one, through compression and moving this keeper back and forth, you start compressing this rope so the diameter gets smaller, so this gets looser, right? So Lucas Agnew leash, here's a little piece of how this is built. So this is, you know, I climbed for many years, and climbing ropes, they're referred to as a Kernmantle rope. So this is basically what a Kernmantle rope looks like, and this is what our leash looks like. So, you know, when you're climbing and you fall, you want to be obviously climbing on a dynamic line, is what we call it, so that when you fall and you come onto the end of that rope has stretch to it, so it absorbs the energy of the fall and softens it. And if you are, let's say you were climbing on a static line, which has no absorption, it's just rock solid, kind of like a flat nylon long line, if I fell on something like that, 12, 15 feet, I could do serious damage, and any further down, you know, bigger fall could snap your spine. So this is why we love these long lines and leashes, is because they are designed like a Kernmantle rope, and they absorb energy. So if a dog bolts on a rabbit and he comes to the end of the line, it's going to soften all that, not only on the dog but on the handler. So you can see it's basically an inner core, and it's really small nylon blend rope that's woven together really tight, and then this mantle or sheath then is woven over the top of that. And so and you can see how tight this weave is versus those other ropes. So snagging is not really an issue, and peeling is not really an issue, you know, but the construction of it is exactly like a climbing rope. So if we look at how the leash is built, first at the hand loop, it's terminated with a knot, right? So the other ones had stitching. This is like a really unique knot that is terminated, and that way it keeps the bulk and the weight down, right? And then you see the same down here on the head loop. And then the keeper is leather with a rivet in it. So sometimes they're really tight. So the workaround on that, if you ever buy one and it's really tight, is you just run it under hot water for like 30 seconds, and then you can, it'll be hard to move, but you can actually move it. And so you just move it a couple of times, and then the leather will eventually kind of come back down and it'll snug up. But once in a while, because this is, you know, human made and somebody's back there popping rivets into these things, thank you very much. And sometimes they become a little bit loose. And so if they're really loose, we just have the client or customers send them back and we just swap it out. And if it's something that we can fix, then we just donate these to the rescues and maybe some of the shelters that need slip leashes. So the one thing we added to our leash that nobody had, but I'll get to that in a second, is this backup clasp. And the reason why we have it is because we will do a power loop demonstration on Edie. So you can use this as a regular slip lead, or you can use this power loop. Can you come here for a second? So I have a nice big loop that I put over the dog's head. I twist a figure 8 here, and then this goes onto her muzzle, right? And then make sure your brass ring is right in the middle of the dog's ear. And then you clip this right into their flat collar as a backup, because what can happen with some dogs, if they're really fast, they'll pop that loop off, and then they can actually back out and get out of the leash. So that's why we created this backup loop. And if you use it just as a regular slip lead, you can clip that back up into the flat collar as well. Or you can just clip it into that brass ring if you don't want to use it. Or maybe you want to back up another collar. You can actually, the cool thing about ours is you can just take this backup loop off. So if you had another training collar you wanted to back up, you can pop that on there. So, and then we also have our Lucas Agnew logo on here with the website, the Dynamic Leash. And you know, lately I've seen a few knockoffs out there where they got a, you know, leash of low quality, and they've added this sort of backup for the most part. And you know, all I can say to that is, you know, buyer beware. Look at what you're buying, you know, and make sure the quality is good, because really most of the slip leashes are out there are the constructions of the first two I showed you. And you know, they might be, you know, $2, $3 less than ours, but if you're a trainer, and like me, when I send clients home, they go home on a long line and they go home on one of our leashes. And so I want to make sure that they're going home with the highest quality equipment that I can send them home with. And these last, I've beaten these leashes up since we've had them, and they are awesome. So get out there and check out the Lucas Agnew leashes at lucasagnew.com, and the long lines especially. Get out there and long line your dog, unwind them, and thanks for watching.